Hi, welcome back to to our lecture on Introduction to Economics, which is part of the Introduction to Economics course. Well, basically, last time I decided to skip the money part, but I kind of want to. I thought about it, and I think maybe it is a good idea to talk about the money also. Uh, so, well, I should mention that one thing, especially if you ever interested in the money, studies on money, and if you go to back and look to the past work done in the money, you might get a little bit confused if you go beyond 1970s. I will go into detail of it, but for the most part of the history, money represents a commodity. Commodity means something that has some other use uh, in addition to serving as money as a mean to exchange other things. Gold and silver was used as money, and the same gold and silver could be used for other purposes, like making well, making people more beautiful. I mean, sell some pieces or create no, manufacturing gold plates, maybe. I don't know, gold or silver forks and knives, maybe. But anyway, gold and silver had other uses. And there is a reason why gold and silver was used, but gold and silver was by no means the only thing that was used for money. Previously, uh, there was also the grain was used as money, and in some cases, in desperate situations, the baseball cards or soccer cards in Turkey, in United States, baseball cards, because baseball is more popular there, used as money by the children, or cigarettes were used as money as in the prisons, for example. Um, and the banknotes were basically initially representing those commodities. So when you got a banknote, you were able to go to bank, and the bank has promised you to give a certain amount of gold or silver in return. And in 19th century, actually, this promise was taken over by the central banks. Central banks give you certain money, a certain amount of gold and silver back. And in 1944, a new system was created where actually the central banks of the world were promising you to give a certain amount of dollar. So when you go to, for example, Turkish Central Bank for 100 Turkish lira, they had previously promised you to give a certain amount of dollar back. So whenever you go, they are obligated to do that. And U.S. Central Bank was promising to give for the dollar you bring to them a certain amount of gold back. Now, central banks can also buy your Turkish lira and give you dollar, or buy your dollar and give you gold, but they don't promise that. It's their choice. They don't necessarily do that. And this has changed in 1970, actually. In 1970, the gold reserves of the US central banks were really very low, and then French central bank has brought a lot of money to the a lot of dollars to the U.S. central bank and demanded gold. And the United States at that time, governed by Nixon, decided to end the existing system and say, from now on, I don't promise you to give any gold for the dollar you bring me, basically. And that's the end of the system. Now, the money, the dollar or any other money is not necessarily backed by any commodity. You don't, you can't for guarantee get a commodity in return, but they still retain their value. And where the value of the money come from and what is the nature of money is also part of the macroeconomic studies. Actually, that's something that fascinates many people, and I think I understand that actually money has a fascinating side. But for me, actually, labor and how labor organized in the world economy is more interesting. But to be fair, well, money is a thing, and the way it gets its value is the thing that that fascinates most people who are interested in the economic system. Uh, anyway, this is the background part. I have covered many things in the background part actually. So the rest on certain things I will pass fast basically. Well, in the little math I will basically do a little bit on the cycles, cyclic mode of movement. Cyclic movement is actually when you have a variable that is continuously increasing and decreasing. Basically, in economics, this could be growth rate. Basically, upward movement is usually something good. It could be employment rate, which means unemployment is going down when you move up. It could be investments. But anyway, this is actually this is how you define that kind of a movement, and this is when the economy continuously has some good times and then some bad times, basically. And when you have a cycle, usually the times when your variable is increasing, your growth rate might be increasing, is called the expansion phase. And then you reach your peak, and then you have your variable decreasing. This is called the recession phase. And then you have the truth. True is the point where you get to the bottom point, the lowest growth rate maybe, and then you go up again. Note that this could be also GDP, but GDP might be going up and down, but in that case you don't have any growth, you have just a stable GDP which is continuously going up and down. Note that however the cycles could be also looking like this. I mean, they are not necessarily that smooth. Here also you have the true expansion, recession, true recession, expansion, peak, recession, expansion, or recession here. But it is not that smooth, basically. And sometimes also people tend to separate. Well, sometimes also you have a trend, a continuous upward moving, let's say, economic variable. But at the same time, that upward moving variable might also have. I have it. It might have continuously up and down movement. So you might have trend and at the same time cycles, which means each peak and each true will be at a higher position compared with the previous case. And again, as you see here, again, things should not be necessarily smooth. So this is, for example, expansion, peak, recession, true, expansion, peak, recession, true, expansion, peak, recession. So things should not go necessarily smooth. That's smooth. Well, we still have time, so I can start with the macroeconomics. Well, I have already told major parts of it, but what you are responsible of, I should basically, or what you should know for the rest of the this class, ideally, is the part which I have written in the main part. So two main views are basically self-regulating economy and the Keynesianism. Self-regulating economy is basically the way macroeconomic system is correcting itself and the way the macroeconomic system is harmed by the regulations, basically. And Keynesianism is basically focusing on the intervention as a way to correct and speed up things. Usually Keynesian models are used by both sides, by the way. When you act to basically correct economic problems, you might have fiscal policy, which is basically government either directly spends or maybe subsidizes spending, which means for the consumption other people do, government pays part of that consumption. This is fiscal policy. Government does spending not because that spending is not only at least because that spending is for them something society needs, but also spending itself is something that is necessary for the economic system, basically to improve the economic conditions. And then you have monetary policy. again, you change interest rate, you decrease the interest rate, not because you think that the interest rate is the monetary system is the low interest rate, but you think that the low interest rate will stimulate the economic system. There is another factor that might also be put some constraint on the the degree you can decrease your interest rate, and we will discuss that in the monetary policy a little bit. Because in Turkey recently there was a discussion on whether the central bank should decrease interest rate or increase interest rate, and some people think central bank should keep interest rate high. We will see why this was the case. Basically, a little bit. I will discuss this issue when we come to monetary system. Anyway, business cycles is another thing that people are interested. The main point is when you look to any real economic system, you see certain cycles. What creates these cycles and whether you can smooth these cycles are one of the basic questions. Neoclassicals think that these are either through the external shocks, or maybe intervention might be creating this. And basically, mostly, not always, there are certain economists that are cross through the lines, but mostly Keynesians think that the cycles are created through the internal mechanisms of the economic system, not externally. And this is actually the US GDP. This is Turkey. US has been mostly smooth, and mostly actually the Keynesians think that this smoothness is there because the Keynesian policies were in place. And this is 2008 crisis actually. It creates some kind of small disturbance, but just small disturbance. You have mostly an upward movement, although the degree has changed in some cases. Although US economy is very much connected to the rest of the world, so rest of the world is also critical here. Actually, in some cases, you might also argue that maybe the crises are actually shifted to the other countries to which US economy is connected. But in macroeconomics, basically, we see each country alone, separately. We don't see world economy as a whole, which might be a deficiency, basically, of the macroeconomics, but it is there. So we don't go beyond what is happening inside of a country. And international economics is usually, if we had that, just would consider what would the openness, the interaction with other countries affect our original country. We again not see the whole world economy as a single system. Anyway, so and business and how the policies affect the business cycles is also something that is interested that people are interested in the macroeconomics. In addition to that, as we have talked, long-term growth is something that economists are interested in, and mostly developing countries are interested in that. We are close to the 15-minute mark, around 14-minute mark. Let's stop here, and the next part will be probably our last part. See you there. Probably I won't speak that much in the next part, I believe, but see you in the next part.